Hello my dear students, welcome to the virtual class on history. So today I am going to teach you French Revolution. So this is one of the most important milestone and a major turning point in the human history. So in the previous class I taught you about the American War of Independence. So today we are going to do French Revolution. So what were the causes, or we can say what were the factors which were responsible for the cause of the French Revolution, we'll discuss today. Okay, so let's start. So French Revolution took place in 1789 and this was one of the major turning point in the human history. So it revolutionized the social, economic and political fabric not only in France but of all Europe and subsequently of almost entire world. So it was one of the major turning point in the human history which inspired, we can say that French Revolution inspired not only French people but it also inspired the people of the world. India was the one who was greatly inspired by the French Revolution during the national movement. So now let us discuss about the causes of the French Revolution. Let me tell you, my dear, the French society was divided into three main classes or states. We can call it as three states or three classes. First state, the second state and the third state. Okay. So first state consisted of clergy, which included the church officials. The second state consisted of nobles and their families. And third state was composed of 95% of the population of France, and this population included the peasants, the artisans, workers and the middle class. And middle class consisted of merchants, manufacturers and professionals such as lawyers, doctors, teachers, etc. So these three states, if you understand clearly, then it will be easy for us to understand the main grievances of the people of French. So as you know that 95% of the people belong to the third state. 95% of the people belong to the third state. Only 5% belong to the first state and the second state. Now, the first state people and the second state people, okay, they enjoyed numerous privileges. Lot of privileges were enjoyed by the first state and the second state. Like they owned the maximum land in France. They owned practically all land in France, okay, but did not have to pay any taxes. This 5% people, they owned. That means the entire, we can say that all the land in France belonged to the people of first state and the second state. Okay, in spite of enjoying their privileges, they did not pay any taxes to the government. Okay, they were very wealthy and led a comfortable and luxurious life. The people of first state and the second state, they were wealthy and they led a luxurious life. Now what about the 95% people of the France who belong to the third state? These people had to bear the burden of the taxes. Okay, they had to shoulder the entire burden of taxation, but was not entitled any privileges enjoyed by the clergy and the nobles. The privileges enjoyed by the first state and the second state were not at all enjoyed by the people of the third state. Though they were the maximum people, 95% of the people who were denied the privileges, they had to shoulder the burden of the entire taxes. Okay. Taxes were imposed on everything. Each and everything were taxed. Even the basic necessities like salt were taxed. Even the salt, which is very, very essential, was also taxed. Life was very, very hard, especially for the poor peasants. Their life was pathetic. And not only that, they had to pay additional taxes to their feudal lords. So this is what about the distribution of people of the society into three states. The first state and the second state, they led a luxurious life, whereas the people of the third state, their life was very, very hard. And on above that, they had to bear the burden of the entire tax. The first state and the second state, they did not pay any taxes. Though they were wealthy, though they were in a position to pay the taxes, but they did not pay the taxes. They led a luxurious life. Now, next one we can see is growing power of the middle class. As you know that middle class, first class, second class, third class. That means upper class, middle class and the lower class. That means middle class was the one which consisted of, as I told you, they consisted of lawyers, doctors, teachers, merchants and the manufacturers. Now they started to earn money, though they paid the taxes, but they became wealthy. They became slowly and gradually, they became very, very wealthy. That means these people acquired great wealth and became economically powerful in the 18th century. They became economically more and more powerful in the 18th century. But in spite of being wealthy people in the society, they were denied social equality and political rights were not at all equally given to them. That means they were denied social equality and political rights. So this caused great resentment among the people of the third state, okay, or the people belonging to the middle class. That is why they used their economic power to overthrow the ancient regime ruled by the King Louis XVI. So when they became wealthy, they now decided that we need to throw this ancient regime from our country. Okay, because they were the one who were paying the maximum taxes, and they were the one who were responsible to build up their nation once again back to a normal, because their money was utilized in a wrong way. They were paying the taxes, and the king and the clergy enjoyed the life on the taxes paid by the third state. So this is about the power of the middle class. When they became wealthy, they now decided to use their wealth and their economic power to overthrow the ancient regime. Okay, the next one, during the time in the previous chapter, like American War of Independence, there also we knew about the role played by the philosophers. So revolutionary writings and the ideas of great political philosophers like Voltaire, Rousseau and Montesquieu created an intellectual ferment in France. The middle class was greatly inspired by the writings, revolutionary ideas of liberty, equality, fraternity and popular sovereignty. These political philosophers made the people understand the importance of liberty, equality and fraternity. And you know that liberty, equality and fraternity are enshrined in our preamble also. That means we were inspired by the French Revolution. The outcome of the French Revolution was liberty, equality and fraternity, as well as popular sovereignty ruled by the people. Now you can see that through their writings, the philosophers exposed the evils of the French society. That means the evils existing in the French society was exposed through the writings of these philosophers. They exposed the working of the government, and not only that, they inspired the people to revolt and fight for their rights. What type of rights? They wanted liberty, equality and fraternity. That means these philosophers inspired the people of France to free themselves from the autocratic rule of the ancient regime, okay, and fight for their rights. So the great role was played by the French philosophers, okay, or we can say that political philosophers like Voltaire, Rousseau and Montesquieu. Okay, now next one we can see is that autocratic and absolute monarchy. As you know that the French first state enjoyed maximum privileges. So on above that we can say that the first state people, they enjoyed maximum power, and above that the rule of the French was in the hand of the monarchy. The French king was autocratic, very, very dominant. He enjoyed absolute power. Nobody can question his power. His will was his law. Whatever he wanted, that became a law. So that means the theory of a rule, that means will of a ruler became the law of the land, was followed in France. So the king enjoyed absolute power and his will was the law for the country. There was no check on his power. That means there was no one to question his power. There was no one to check over his power. That means completely he ruled with his autocratic power. So he ruled by divine right. He used to believe that I am the king and I am the representative of God on earth. So nobody can question me. I am only answerable to God, not to the people. I am the ruler of the people, but I am not answerable to the people. I am answerable or accountable to God only. So this was his theory he applied. Okay. And next one we can see inefficient and corrupt administration. Administration under the king was very, very corrupt and inefficient. Officials who were working under the king were very, very selfish. They were not at all concerned about the welfare of the people. What is the duty of the government? What is the duty of the administration? To look after the welfare of the people. But here what we see, the administration was completely corrupt and it was completely inefficient, and the officials who were to look after the welfare of the people, they became selfish and they were completely unconcerned about the welfare of the people. Okay. Now what type of king Louis XVI was? He was a pleasure-loving person. He enjoyed his life. He was completely ignorant of and indifferent to the sufferings of the common people. He was completely ignorant and he was completely indifferent to the sufferings of the common people. Actually, it was his duty to look after the sufferings of the common people, but he ignored it. He was busy in his own life. He was enjoying his life lavishly. And as you know, he was influenced by his beautiful and ambitious wife. And the name of his wife was Marie Antoinette. Okay, Maria Antoinette. So, both wife and husband wasted money on festivities and pleasures and emptied the royal treasury. So, that royal treasury was filled by the people who paid taxes. So, they were enjoying their life lavishly. They were enjoying their luxurious life on the expenses of the people. That means on the expenses of the common people who paid them taxes. So on the taxes paid by the people of France who belong to the third estate, my dear, they enjoyed their life lavishly and they ignored the welfare of the people and the sufferings of the people of France. So definitely people will become frustrated due to this. We pay taxes. We know that when we pay taxes, the taxes comes back to us in the form of development. But there, the welfare of the people was not at all taken into consideration. So, both these wife and husband, King Louis XVI and Maria Antoinette, enjoyed their life, wasted money lavishly on festivities and pleasures, and this way they emptied the royal treasury. And now next one, the economic bankruptcy. That means the French, or we can say the France was on the verge of bankruptcy, my dear. So this aggravated the people of France, and they understood that uselessly France is involved in the wars. France was involved in the war which was going on in England, okay, and the French involvement in useless wars against England emptied the royal treasury. The rich privileged classes, my dear, they could not afford to pay any more taxes, continued to be exempted from it, while the poor were crushed under heavier taxes. You can see here, my dear, that means the rich privileged classes which could afford to pay taxes continued to be exempted. From those who can pay. That means the people who were in a position to pay the taxes were exempted, while the poor people who were not in a position to pay the taxes were crushed under heavier taxation. Thus you can understand The person who can pay was exempted, but the person who cannot pay that means they were pressurized to pay the taxes. This is how the condition of France was during that time. So definitely people will become frustrated due to this. Okay. So growing power of the middle class, influence of the new ideas, autocratic absolute monarchy. So what will people do at that situation? What you could have done in that situation? Definitely you could have revolted. You could have tried to free yourself. The same way the people of India also did against the British rule or not. We were frustrated. We were very much fed up with the British rule. So what we did? We decided to overthrow the British rule from our country. The same thing was done by the people of France when they became completely frustrated with the autocratic rule, no development, no welfare measures. The people who paid the taxes were not at all taken into consideration. They were not given social equality. They were not even given political rights also. So they became frustrated. They became discontented. That is why they decided to free themselves from the autocratic rule of King Louis XVI. Okay, so lot of causes are there, my dear. Next one you can see there, as you know, that American Revolution which took place. Many of the French generals and soldiers, they fought in American Revolution. When they returned back to France, my dear, they came back with the revolutionary ideas and inspired the people to fight against the unjust and despotic government of France. When they returned back, they were inspired by the revolutionary ideas and they inspired the people of France. Okay, that means the people of France, the French people were inspired to fight against the autocratic rule, to free themselves from their autocracy. So the success of American revolutionaries, my dear, the American War of Independence, the Americans, they became successful in freeing themselves, and there was a birth of United States of America. So that inspired the people of France, even, my dear, that if Americans can do, why not we? So the success of American revolutionaries enthusiasted the French people and encouraged them to rebel, encouraged them to revolt against the autocratic rule of France. The same thing happened, my dear. Same thing they did also. Okay. So as I told you in this chapter, 3 classes were there. The first 2 enjoyed all the privileges, and that privileges were denied to the people belonging to the third estate. Okay, and then slowly and gradually the middle class people became more and more wealthy, and they utilized that wealth to organize a movement to throw out the autocratic rule of King Louis XVI. And they were even inspired by the French philosophers, political philosophers. Okay, so all these were the factors which were responsible for the French Revolution, which took place in 1789. Okay. Now next one. So let us keep it up to this much only. In the next class, I'll tell you about the storming of Bastille. Okay, we'll meet soon. Thank you.